My mom stared at me across the dinner table and declared, "You'll never measure up to your sister." The room fell silent as everyone stopped eating. My dad gave a subtle nod of agreement. My sister smirked. But I stood up and said something that made the entire room freeze in stunned silence. "I'm Maya, 28 years old, and I've spent my life as the overlooked daughter, the one who was always second best, working 2 jobs just to stay afloat while my parents lavished my sister Emma with praise, money, and opportunities I could only dream of. I worked grueling nights as an ICU nurse, saving lives, and spent my weekends tutoring kids to chip away at student loans that seemed to multiply every month. I never complained, never asked for a handout. I just watched as Emma got everything served to her on a silver platter. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family while someone else gets all the glory, hit that subscribe button right now and let me know where you're watching from. I read every comment because I know how it feels to be crushed by being constantly ignored. It all began 3 months ago at what should have been a regular family dinner. But this one was different. It was a celebration of Emma's big news. She just landed a marketing gig at a flashy startup, and my parents turned it into a grand event. The dining room was filled with the aroma of roasted chicken and pricey wine. Mom had gone all out cooking Emma's favorite meal from scratch. The table was decked out with flowers, fine china, and candles glowing like it was a special occasion. I walked in straight from a 12-hour shift at the hospital, still in my scrubs, exhaustion dragging at my every step. "Maya, you're late," Mom said, barely glancing my way. Her eyes were fixed on Emma, who was chatting about her new office and the free kombucha in the break room. I slid into the only empty seat, the one with the wobbly leg nobody else wanted. Emma was radiant, her hair perfectly styled, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. Dad hung on her every word like she was unveiling world-changing news. "And my boss says I've got serious potential for the creative director role," Emma went on, swirling her wine glass. "He thinks I could be leading campaigns in 6 months." "That's amazing, sweetheart," Dad beamed. "This company really knows how to spot talent." I tried to join the conversation. "Speaking of work, I got recognized today for saving a patient in cardiac arrest. The doctor said my quick thinking saved their life." Mom barely looked at me. "That's nice, dear," she said before turning back to Emma. "Tell us more about the office vibe. It sounds so exciting." Dad leaned in, completely ignoring my comment. "Emma's really going places with this company. They've got real growth opportunities, not like those dead-end healthcare jobs." That's when it happened. The moment that changed everything. Mom fixed me with a cold, familiar sneer and said, "Maya, you'll never measure up to your sister. Emma's got ambition. She's got drive. She's going somewhere in life." The words hit like a punch, but what stung more was Emma's reaction. She didn't defend me. She didn't even flinch. She just smiled and sipped her wine like Mom had commented on the weather. As I stared at my half-eaten plate, something snapped inside me. I'd been covering my parents' mortgage for 6 months, $2,800 a month straight from my account, while they handed Emma a $5,000 check to celebrate a job that paid less than I earned in a month. But that dinner was just the start. The real betrayals were still to come. 2 weeks later, I was scrolling Instagram on my lunch break when I saw it. Photos of Emma, my parents, and her boyfriend on a Hawaiian beach. Palm trees, turquoise waves, fancy resort cocktails with tiny umbrellas. They looked like they were living their best lives. I stared at my phone in disbelief. Nobody had mentioned a family vacation, not a single hint. I called Mom right away. "Oh, Maya," she said when I asked about the trip, "we didn't think you could get time off. You're always so busy with your shifts." "You didn't even ask," I said, my voice breaking. "You never even invited me." "Well, it was a last-minute thing. Emma needed to unwind after starting her new job. You get it." I hung up and scrolled through more photos. My family building sandcastles. My family dining at upscale restaurants. My family having heartfelt talks during sunset strolls, without me. Emma texted me 3 hours later. "Sorry, thought you knew about Hawaii. You're always working, so we assumed you wouldn't want to come. Hope you're not upset." I wasn't upset. I was heartbroken. But the public humiliation came next, and it nearly shattered me. Emma's 26th birthday was celebrated at the swankiest restaurant in town, where appetizers cost more than my weekly grocery budget. My parents rented out the entire back room and invited 50 people to fete their successful daughter. I showed up after another long shift, still faintly smelling of hospital antiseptic, wearing the best dress I owned, which looked cheap next to everyone else's designer outfits. Mom gave a speech that turned my stomach. "We're so proud of our Emma," she announced, raising her glass. "She's always had such natural talent with such a bright future ahead." The room erupted in applause. Emma basked in the spotlight like she was accepting an Oscar. Then Mrs. Chen, one of Mom's friends, turned to me. "And what do you do, Maya? I know Emma's in marketing, but I've lost track of your career." Before I could respond, Dad cut in with a laugh that burned my cheeks. "Oh, Maya's still figuring things out. She's working at the hospital, but Emma's the one with the real career. Emma's the one making something of herself." I'd just earned my nursing degree. I was working in the ICU, literally saving lives every day. I was earning more than Emma had ever seen. But all Dad could see was his successful daughter who posted glossy social media updates for a startup that might fold in a year. Mom raised her glass again. "We're so proud of our successful daughter," she said, looking straight at Emma while I sat just feet away. The room went quiet for a moment, and I felt 50 pairs of eyes on me. Some looked confused. Others pitied me, but my parents just kept smiling, celebrating Emma like I didn't exist. That night I went home and cried until my eyes were nearly swollen shut. But the worst betrayal was yet to come. I found it by chance while helping Mom sort through her bills. Tucked among utility statements and credit card receipts were documents that froze my blood, Emma's student loan statements, all marked paid in full. My hands shook as I grabbed the papers and did the math. Emma had graduated with $45,000 in debt. Every payment had come from my parents' account, the same account I'd been pouring money into for the mortgage. I confronted Mom the next day. "You've been using my money to pay Emma's loans?" Mom didn't even look guilty. "Emma needs to focus on her career. She can't be bogged down by debt while building her future. You've got a steady job. You can handle your own responsibilities and help the family. I've been working nights and weekends to pay my own loans while you used my mortgage payments to clear Emma's debt. Maya, don't be selfish. Family supports family. Emma's success benefits us all." That's when it hit me. I hadn't been helping with a mortgage. I'd been bankrolling Emma's entire lifestyle while struggling to keep up with my own debt. She graduated debt-free while I worked myself to the bone just to stay afloat. But what they didn't know was that I'd been keeping records. Every bank transfer, every payment, every receipt. I'd documented it all for tax purposes, never imagining I'd need them as proof of financial abuse. While they celebrated Emma's $45,000 salary, they had no clue I was earning $89,000 a year. They didn't know I'd been accepted into a nurse practitioner program that would push my income into 6 figures. I'd been keeping a secret that would turn everything upside down. My coworker, Jennifer, a no-nonsense charge nurse in her 50s, had seen this drama unfold. One day during a break, she looked me in the eye and said, "Maya, you're funding your sister's life while they treat you like a failure. This isn't family support. This is financial abuse." Jennifer helped me crunch the numbers. Over 2 years, I'd given my parents $47,000, not just for the mortgage, but for Emma's loans, her car payments, even her credit card bills when she had a rough month. That's when things got serious. Mom started dropping hints about Emma's engagement. Her boyfriend had proposed, and they were planning a lavish wedding that would require family contributions. "Maya can cover the catering," Mom said casually during a call. "She doesn't have expenses like Emma does. Emma needs to save for her dress and honeymoon." I hung up and started printing everything. Bank statements, payment records, loan calculations, every piece of evidence I'd need to prove how much I'd been propping up this family while they dismissed me as the unsuccessful daughter. Then I did something that scared me to death. I stopped paying the mortgage. Within a week, my phone blew up. Frantic calls from Mom, furious texts from Dad, even Emma called, suddenly worried about family finances for the first time ever. "Maya, what's going on with the mortgage?" Mom demanded. "The bank says the payment's late." "I think we need a family meeting," I said calmly. "Let's sit down for dinner and talk about everyone's financial contributions." They agreed instantly, probably thinking they could guilt me into compliance. The dinner was set for Saturday. Mom cooked another extravagant meal, likely hoping food would soften me up. Dad opened a bottle of wine like we were celebrating. Emma showed up flashing her engagement ring, ready to talk wedding plans and my expected contribution. They had no idea what was coming. Dad launched into a lecture before we'd even finished eating. "Maya, we need to talk about responsibility and family duty. You can't just stop helping us because you're having some kind of emotional breakdown." "This family relies on your support," Mom chimed in. "Emma's building her future, and we all have to sacrifice to help her succeed." Emma nodded, oblivious to where her lifestyle was really coming from. "Maya, I know you're stressed about money, but we're family. We help each other." That's when Mom gave me that same icy sneer, the one I'd seen 1,000 times, and repeated the words that started this whole showdown. "You'll never measure up to your sister." I stood up slowly, my hands steady for the first time in months. I locked eyes with Mom and said the words that silenced the room. "Then ask her to pay your bills." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick folder of documents. I spread them across the table like I was dealing a winning hand, each page landing with a soft thud that echoed in the silence. "I've paid $47,000 to this family over the last 2 years," I said, my voice clear and firm. "Emma's student loans, your mortgage, her car payments, even her credit card bills when she overspent on clothes and trips." Emma's face went pale. She grabbed a bank statement with trembling hands, staring at payment after payment with her name in the memo line. "Monthly mortgage payments, $2,800, I continued, pointing to each document. "Emma's loan payments, $650 a month. Car payment contributions, $400 a month. Random emergency payments when Emma needed help, $8,200 total." Dad was flipping through the papers, his smug expression crumbling as he saw every payment laid bare, every lie exposed. "Emma," I said, turning to my sister, who was still staring at the evidence in shock. "You had no idea I was paying your loans, did you?" She shook her head, tears welling up. "Maya, I thought Mom and Dad were helping me. I didn't know the money was from you." "Of course you didn't," I said, "because they wanted you to think you were special, successful, better than me." I turned back to my parents, who were both trying to talk over each other, scrambling to justify 2 years of financial manipulation. "You want to know the real difference between Emma and me?" I asked, my voice growing stronger. "I've been supporting this entire family while Emma plays at being a grown-up with a job that pays less than I make in 2 weeks. The silence that followed was deafening. "My nursing income is $89,000 a year," I continued. "Emma's startup salary is $45,000, but you've spent 2 years telling everyone she's the successful one." Emma was sobbing now, the truth hitting her like a freight train. Her debt-free graduation, her carefree lifestyle, her success. All of it was built on my work, my sacrifices, my paychecks. "Maya, we can explain," Dad started, but I raised my hand. "No," I said firmly. "You can't explain away 2 years of lies. You can't explain why you took my money to pay her bills while telling me I'd never measure up to her. You can't explain why you celebrated her success when it was funded by mine." I gathered the documents and slid them back into my folder. "The mortgage payments stop now. Emma can be as successful as she wants with her own money." I walked out that night and never returned to those family dinners. Within 2 weeks, I'd relocated to a new city and started as a nurse practitioner, earning $120,000 a year. The hospital valued my experience, my dedication, my skills. They treated me like the professional I'd always been, not the failure my family had labeled me. My parents' house went into foreclosure within 6 months. Emma's relationship fell apart when the financial reality hit, and she couldn't sustain the lifestyle she'd grown used to. She called me, crying, begging for help, but I was done being their safety net. For the first time, their silence didn't hurt me, it freed me. I realized I never needed their approval. I needed my own respect. I needed to value myself the way I'd hoped they would for years. I built a new life surrounded by colleagues who respected my contributions, who saw my worth without needing proof or years of financial support. People who understood that success isn't about having everything handed to you. It's about working for what you have and taking pride in what you've achieved. They lost me that day, and I never looked back. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is walking away from people who can't see your worth, no matter how much proof you provide. If you've ever been the family member who gives everything while someone else gets the credit, you're not alone. Drop a comment below and share your story. Where are you watching from? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own self-worth? Your experiences matter, and I read every single comment. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories about finding strength when family dynamics go wrong. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop funding other people's dreams and start investing in your own.